Welcome to Valley's Gold, a program where we explore the people and places who feed and clothe us. On this episode, we learn about California's more unique crops, okra and eggplant. We'll see what it takes to grow and prepare these fabulous vegetables. So join me, Ryan Jacobsen, on this adventure.
Valley's Gold is produced through a partnership between the Fresno County Farm Bureau and Valley PBS. Production funding for Valley's Gold is provided by
the Myers Water Bank and Wildlife Project, an educational outreach program working to teach students about water and wildlife issues in California. Field trips are free for all schools, and each trip's curriculum is based on learning about California water resources, valley agriculture, and native wildlife.
Everyone enjoys getting together to laugh, to talk, and mostly to eat. It sounds so simple, but the reality is that it takes a lot of hard work to feed us. The next time you sit down to eat, remember to thank our farmers, Garge Italian Incorporated since 1949 at 800-696-6108.
Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. At Brandt, our heroes are the men and women in the field, the folks who work hard to put food on our tables. Join us in celebrating the Valley's real heroes. Brandt, professional agriculture.
Many, including myself, have at one time or another seen okra at the store or a farmer's market, but have not known what to do with it. To learn about this exotic crop from an expert, I've been joined by farmer Will Scott Jr. Will, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thank you.
I am out here to learn about okra, but you grow a lot besides just okra. Tell me about some of the crops you have out here.
Well, mostly I grow seasonal crops. You know, like at the present time I'm growing black-eyed peas, okra, tomatoes.
And when things are going right, you're almost producing out here 12 months out of the year.
That's true. Well, we've been blessed in California. You know, we can go 365, and sometimes 24/7.
Exactly. You're growing, you mentioned several crops that I don't think a lot of folks think or associate with California agriculture. And one of those is okra, which is, again, a crop I think is just so underutilized compared to what it should be here. And so that's why I'm here to hear from you about how to grow this magical crop. And let's begin with the basics. What is okra like when it comes to growing conditions?
Well, okra is one of them peculiar crops too, is that it's kind of sensitive, not only to get it germinate, but also when you harvest it. Say for instance, you have the temperature has to be correctly, especially 3 or 4 days in the 80s in order to get the temperature, and then naturally you need the water and moisture, for it to grow and for it to germinate. Now, there are some people have, soaked it overnight, in order to help the germination. But mostly what I do is that pre-irrigate when I have the time, and then plant the seeds.
And I refer to okra as an exotic crop, just not by accident, because it's just so unique. When you go to the grocery store, there's not a lot else like it, as far as looks and just feel and everything else.
But you're right, it's something that most people don't know about, and those who are familiar with it, they don't like it because if you boil it, it's slimy.
Yeah.
But there are ways you can.
There's a lot of other different ways to prepare it.
Exactly,
Now, when it comes to okra, is it a bloom? Will that, if you continue to let it produce and go through the cycle, does that turn into a bloom?
Well, what happens is that, at the end of it, the bloom comes out, and then from that comes the okra.
Got it.
Then once you pick it off on that same bud, another one would come up. Because, a plant like that is that it feels that its job hasn't been completed yet.
Yeah.
But what you can do is if you leave it on there, that okra will become maybe a foot long and it'll dry out.
Really?
And
Wow.
that tells the plant that my job is done.
Got it. So
And
you guys got to keep taking it off.
Exactly.
From the time you have a flower to the time you got that 2-inch where you're ready to harvest, how long does that take?
Once you get the flower, you're looking at probably 2 to 3 days.
Really? It grows that fast?
You know,
This-
sometimes if you was to feed it up, you could probably see it grow. Because
Just like a zucchini, like you said.
because you can go through there. You know, you go through a row, say today.
Yeah.
You know, you have to do it a day, either tomorrow or the next day for sure. You know, if you want to get it at the proper sizes.
You mentioned 6 to 8 weeks from the time you plant it to the first crop you get. Once those plants start producing here in the valley, how long can you keep it producing?
It'll produce until the frost hit.
Really?
Yeah, it's a summer crop, but once
Wow.
the frost, the temperature drops down. See, and that's some of the difficulties we have as far as getting it to germinate, because like I said, that if the temperature of the soil is not proper, you know, then it won't germinate. Matter of fact, you see to sit there and two or three things happen to it. Either it'll dry up or the insects will get to it.
And harvest is all hand harvest.
It's hand harvest and see, and like I said, that it's kind of, it's itchy too. Some people can pick it without being itchy, but me, I use the gloves, you know.
Got it. Okay.
And if it's young enough, you know, you don't need sometimes you have clippers. You can go through there and snap it off with your hand, you know, and be able to, you know, move on down and harvest it pretty fast.
Got it. Okay.
But it'll keep you busy.
So you go through and hand harvest it, and then where does your crops end up at?
Well, I grow probably, you know, I'm kind of limited to going to the farmer's market, and also for people who call me up, you know, but I usually take it to the Bay Area, to West Oakland.
And then, Will, the one thing I want to wrap up with you here is we're talking about the farmer side of you, but you're very actively involved in the industry. And one of those projects is you're president of the African American Farmers of California. Talk about that association.
If you were to ask someone, are there any African American farmers in California? Well, 15 years ago, people would have said, no, I know none, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they would have been correct to a certain extent, you know, even though even today we only number less than 0.5%. But we're here.
Absolutely.
You know.
Well, Will, thank you so much. Been a great visit out here to the farm.
No, thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
I'm at a farm in Sanger to expand my knowledge on a well-known but often misunderstood fruit, the eggplant. While many of us on occasion have tried this crop, how it's produced will amaze you. To educate us all, I've been joined by farmer Lee Tao as well as Michael Yang with the University of California Cooperative Extension. Thank you two for joining me today.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me out. Well, we're here to talk about eggplant, which is one of the most unique fruits I can possibly think of. But before I get to that, Lee, I want to begin with you. How'd you ever get into the farming business?
Because I like to grow, you know, fruits and vegetables myself, so I can eat the vegetable that I grow.
Got it. Okay. And Lee, you're one of the more newer farmers that I've met. You've only been at this for about 10 years, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, correct. And on this, you have approximately 6 acres, I believe. On this 6 acres, how many different crops do you have here?
There are a lot. It's like 150 variety of crops.
150 different varieties of crops out here. So where does all this stuff end up at?
San Francisco. I go to farm market in the San Francisco area.
Got it. Okay, in the San Francisco area. Well, great. Well, I'm here to learn about eggplant, which is obviously, as I said, a very, very unique crop. Michael, we have a lot of different varieties of eggplant. Let's talk about the ones that Lee has here on his farm. What types are they?
Here you see, as he said, he have 150 variety of crops, and here he have. You know, the Oriental eggplant, there's many kinds.
So Oriental. So
yes.
let's begin with the Oriental. A lot different than what you're probably going to find at most mainstream grocery stores.
It's a lot different, yes.
Yeah.
It's different sizes, different color, and you know, you haven't tried these Oriental eggplants. You try and compared to the mainstream one. These are sweet and it's just a lot better.
Yeah,
better taste.
And just when we talked about the differences, I mean, just walking out here and seeing these different kinds, you talked about colors, but obviously I'm used to seeing in the stores the more, I guess you would say, round ones, the more plump ones, and these are a lot skinnier ones out here that I've seen. So is that kind of characteristic of the Orientals?
Right.
Okay.
Yes. There's you know, a zebra one. There's a purple one. There's a dark purple. There's a white one. It's all kinds in the shapes.
What does it take to grow eggplants in California? Is it a crop that's really conducive to the soils and the type of weather we have here in California?
Yeah, no problem with the grown eggplants here. You have to make sure you shape the beds and suitable for the eggplants.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. And Michael, when it comes to the growing season and when do you put them into the ground? And it's an annual crop, correct? It's a crop that you plant every year.
Every year, yes.
And got it. So is this something, when do you put it into the ground, and is it a seed? Is it a cutting? And what's the process from there?
It's a transplant. You have to grow the plants in a greenhouse and transfer the plant to the field.
Got it. And is it what time of year do you plant it here in the Central Valley?
February.
February. Are you putting the hot caps on top of them?
Hot caps on top, yes.
Got it. Okay. And then from that point, you go through the cultural practices. What is some of the concerns? Any pest concerns when it comes to eggplants?
Because it's still cool weather, so it doesn't have that much problem with the pests.
Got it. Okay. And when is the first eggplants coming off of the plants?
May, the middle of May.
Got it. And I know the eggplant is kind of in the nightshade family. It's very similar to tomatoes, for example. And but when it comes to the preparation of, you pick this. It's all hand labor, I'm assuming.
Very labor intensive.
How do you go through picking this?
You use a scissor or a sharp knife. You just cut it.
Got it. You cut it off the. And I guess we refer to it as a plant. It's not really a vine or anything else.
Right.
I've noticed that depending on the type of eggplants, some may be trellised, and these are obviously right behind us here. We have freestanding ones. What's the difference, or is there any difference?
Yeah. Eventually, he put some stakes to hold the eggplants. As right now, the eggplants is not tall enough. Yeah. So he put stakes in some twine to hold it, so that when the eggplants, the fruit itself hang. Does not touch the ground and curve the eggplants.
Got it. Because
get it straight.
They're fairly fragile plants with very big produce on them. There's very, very big sized fruit on there. And when it comes to the, I talked about harvest, but it's very sensitive on the fruit. You can very easily damage the skin as well. So you can take a lot of care into taking it off the plant and making sure it gets to the consumer kind of bruise free.
Right, yes.
Thank you too so much for showing me so much about this wonderful fruit.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. People from all over the world have traveled to the valley to farm and ranch. To learn about their experiences, I have with me Elizabeth Lavelle with the Pop Laval Foundation to show us photos from the past. Elizabeth, thanks for coming on once again.
Thanks, Ryan. For so many seasons of Valley's Gold, we learned about some incredible agricultural technology. But really, over the years, that we have some crops that are simply lovingly still picked by hand.
Absolutely.
And we're going to learn about that today.
And we're in this beautiful setting, the market on Kern Street.
That's right.
Why did you choose this?
Well, because a lot of these crops are kind of boutique crops. We're learning about okra and eggplant in this episode, but some of the older crops, you're going to learn when were strawberries introduced and some other things like that.
Well, that's fantastic. Let's get to these beautiful photos.
Now, I have these first two photos that people don't even believe that we have in the collection because they're actually of tobacco. And here you can see that we have the Shishmanian ranch, the rows and rows of drying tobacco. And even the youngest family members were expected to help string the family's crop of tobacco on this family's homestead. A little bit of a cultural moment. You can see in this photo that the boy in the picture is nicely ensconced in the shade of the shed, while all the girls in their long, hot dresses are working straight in the sun. Dad's out with them too. But this would definitely have been about 1913. Very, very old photo.
And this is one of those crops I never knew was grown in the valley.
That's right. I think I'm the one that told you about that.
Yep.
No doubt one of the crops people think of as being hand-picked for centuries has been cotton. Particularly in our nation's south, there was a lot of negative connotation that was associated with this crop. But out here in the west, as with many other commodities, cotton was a family affair. The crop matured in the fall, and when it was time to pick, the whole family pitched in, along with all the hired help the family could find. There were two ways of picking cotton: actually picking the cotton out of the bolls and pulling the boll and all. A good cotton picker might pick as much as 600 or 700 pounds a day and pull in as much as 1,000. Pickers used a sack made of heavy cotton, ducking which was often made at home. These could be up to 15 feet long and 18 inches in diameter, with a strong strap at the open front end that went over the neck and rested on the shoulder. The bottom end was, of course, closed.
Yeah.
The kids used small sacks, and the better pickers used the larger ones. Now, schools began late in the year so the kids could help with the cotton picking. The long sacks were very heavy to drag, and when they were about full, the cotton sack made a nice seat for sandwich munching and a nice bed for resting before going back to work. Cotton scales were a simple balance type device that were hung from the propped up tongue of the wagon. The sack was tied to the bottom of the scale, and a pea or small weight was moved along the arm until it balanced. The crop owner usually designated an official weigher who weighed all the sacks and kept a record of the amounts each picker brought in. After weighing the sack, the weight of the sack was deducted. The cotton was emptied into the wagon, and this wagon bed had such very high sides to keep all the cotton in.
So much of the history of the valley is tied to cotton.
We
forget about that, but I mean, we talk about the significance of the hand harvesting. Essentially, you know, you talk about a labor force back then. Everybody shifted to cotton because it was such an important crop.
And it was really a family, as we were saying, a family affair. Now, when the weigher announced that there was enough cotton in the wagon for a bale, the team was hitched and the load started on its way to the gin. In those days, there were gins all over the country, and it was usually not more than 6 or 7 miles to the closest one. This photo is actually the weighing of the first bale of cotton produced in the San Joaquin Valley at the California Products Gin in October of 1918. And one of my very favorite pictures here is Miss Doris celebrating. It took about 1,600 to 1,800 pounds to gin a 500-pound bale of marketable cotton.
And fun fact is, bales today don't look a whole lot different than what they did back then.
That's it. This is one of those things that really has stayed the same. So there were lots of crops early in the last century that required lots of man and mule power. Alfalfa baling at the James Ranch. Here we're seeing the earliest photo that I know of a strawberry patch. If you can see the sign, the date was April 18th, 1912. Here's an onion patch taken the same day. My guess here is that these crops were newly introduced to the area. And if we went back in time to then, we'd find in the Fresno Morning Republican newspaper probably some story with these photos about newfangled crops, onions and strawberries. As we know, citrus was hand harvested. The cultivation of citrus began in the 1860s when Mrs. William Hazelton and Harvey Akers planted seedlings in the King River bottomlands. This photo of an early orange harvest was taken at the Reed Ranch along the Kings River near Reedley around 1917. And Ryan, you know, you got to notice these guys. These are such proud farmers. They're in their jackets. You know, they really, I love the dog in this one too.
Absolutely.
But you can see the guys were in their suits and tie, their very best, because they were doing a job just as important as everybody else.
Absolutely, and so proud to show off their vehicles and their boxes there.
That's right. And so we're going to end right now with certainly one of the most labor-intensive crops, which you know very well, is table grapes.
Yes. Wild
grapes once grew in profusion along the banks of the Central Valley rivers prior to the arrival of the first settlers. They were harvested and preserved by Yokuts Indians. Then pioneer settlers realized the region would be perfectly suited for viticulture. While picking of the wine grapes has become more mechanized, table grapes are still carefully removed from their vines and delicately transported to ensure they stay perfect.
And now I see why you chose this setting, because we have some gorgeous displays in back of us.
And then we have to end with this photo. It's the most gorgeous photo. It's one of my favorites, definitely from the collection from well over 100 years ago. People usually started in the fields as children, and they gave their whole lives there for the whole time they lived.
Absolutely.
Beautiful photo, isn't that?
It's a beautiful one. It's one I've seen many times because it is just a perfect reflection of the Central Valley and the importance of these individuals that, again, came from all throughout the world to end up here in the Central Valley of California to do what we do so well, agriculture.
And we are so proud to show it off in farmers like markets like this one, the market on Kern.
Absolutely. Well, Elizabeth, once again, you've done a phenomenal job of sharing some fantastic Valley history with us. Can't wait to see what next time's in store.
We'll be back. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm in the Valley PBS studio, and with me I have K.C. of G-Free Foodie. K.C., thanks for joining me once again.
I am thrilled to be here. Every time you call and say Central California produce, I'm all in.
And I got some exotic ones for you this time. We're talking okra and eggplant, and you got some fancy recipes here for me.
I do. Ryan, I wanted to show you the things that not everyone does with eggplant and okra.
What is it? I'm sure it has something to do with this.
It does. It's curry.
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 So eggplant curry.
Eggplant curry. And this is one of the easiest things to make. Really great flavor.
Great. Well, where do we start?
So I've got this cooking because it takes about half an hour to do. So I started with some chopped shallots and garlic and the curry paste.
Okay.
You want to let that all cook together. Let the garlic and the shallots kind of do their magic, sugar start to caramelize, and then we warm through the curry paste.
Okay, okay.
Then some tomatoes, some coconut milk, and I wanted to make an all-vegetable curry for you because I think eggplant is really meaty and really delicious.
A lot of times it is a main dish, as you said, whether it's grilled eggplant, Parmesan eggplant, whatever else, a lot of time it's the main feature of that plate. So.
Absolutely, and I think it works here, although you could definitely add shrimp, lamb, chicken, something else if you wanted to. So I just added some cauliflower and some carrots, cooked those together, and then you can use any kind of eggplant that you want. We have multiple varieties, and the Valley grows multiple varieties. So one of the things I love about this dish is it doesn't matter what kind of eggplant you have. It works. You're going to cube it, just like this.
In about 3/4 to an inch piece quarters there. So.
Yep. And then you're just going to add that once your cauliflower and your carrots are starting to soften. You're going to add the eggplant, stir it together for another 7 or 8 minutes, and it's done.
Got it. So half hour total after you have all the prep work done.
Yep, absolutely. Good. You want to try a little?
I would love to try some.
Okay.
And of course, the feature commodity here is eggplant, so you got to make sure you get me a good chunk of that eggplant.
I'm going to get you tons of eggplant. And then I like to serve this, and if you go to like Thai restaurants, they usually will too, with a little bit of lime.
Got it.
So you can squeeze that lime over if you like.
Why not take advantage of it,
There's
right?
a fork, and I like to throw in, can I give you a little local basil too?
Absolutely.
All right. Give that a go.
That's the go right there, huh?
Yep.
Awesome.
Knocks it out, right?
It's fantastic. The eggplant obviously is very meaty, has some incredible flavors that I just don't think I was expecting from eggplant. So.
Right, absolutely. And you can taste the eggplant, taste the carrots, taste the cauliflower. So that's why.
Just the texture is wonderful. As you said, not necessarily overcooking it. I think a lot of folks, that's what we do with vegetables. We overcook them, and you lose some of that texture and that structure. And so that's why this is so fabulous. So
that's why carrots and cauliflower are great in this, because they give it a little more texture. And I like it with the acidity of the lime.
Got it. Okay. Well, fantastic. Well, we got to jump to the next one so that I can come back after we finish this dish.
And wipe this whole
Absolutely.
pot.
Yes.
I saw you coming like a freight train.
I saved myself for these meals. So wonderful. But we're moving on to another delicacy that we learned about in this episode, and that is okra. And okra, again, one of those crops that I just don't think a lot of folks know what to do with it. I think a lot of people, like myself, have tried fried okra, and you think, well, I can't do that at home. But you're going to show me something we can do at home.
Absolutely. And I think also people think about okra and they think about the South. They don't realize it's a Central California commodity and something we should be embracing. And you're right. Fried okra, gumbo. Then what do I do with it? You do this. I'm going to show you. So just cleaned okra. So we just took the fresh okra. I cut the tip.
Cut off the top,
and the top. Then I'm going to drizzle it with a little local olive oil. And I'm going to use my hands. Some people would use a spoon because they're cleaner than me.
Just drizzle on a little salt.
Pepper, and I like a little paprika in it. This would also be great if you wanted to cut up some sweet bell peppers.
Okay.
Red or orange would be great in this.
And just mix it up with them?
You can just mix it up. Sometimes I throw a little garlic in here.
Okay.
And then we're gonna shake it onto a sheet pan.
You're literally making, I think this is possibly your easiest recipe you've ever
This
brought
is
to
so
us.
easy, and this is part of I was thrilled actually that you said okra, because I feel like people feel like it's hard.
Yeah.
Or they feel like it's gonna be slimy.
It's intimidating. It's just the way you look at it. It's like, what do you do with it?
What do I do with this? And maybe we hit it with a little bit more olive oil because you want to make sure there's enough oil that they're not going to stick to the pan.
Got it. Okay.
This goes into a screaming hot oven, 450 degrees.
Okay.
You're going to roast it for 7 or 8 minutes.
Okay.
And then you're going to give it a shake so that the okra will turn. So we're going to cook,
both sides of it.
Right, because
Okay.
it's going to get brown and eventually black if you left it in there long enough where it's touching the sheet pan. So that's why we want to give it a shake. I'm going to pull out that one that I touched so you don't have to eat it because I'm going to serve you some and I feel like you're going to like this.
And so you said the first 8 minutes, you shake it and then you put it back in for how much?
7 or 8 more minutes.
7 or 8 more minutes, so a
Yep.
total of about 15 minutes. We saw how long it took you to prep it. I mean, what would it take you? 30
Virtually
seconds?
nothing.
Yeah.
It's clean the okra. You want to make sure they're dry. What we're trying to do in the oven is dry out the okra.
Yeah.
So you want to rinse them, of course, but then you want to put them in a strainer or rub them with a paper towel so they're completely dry because we don't want to add moisture and then put them in the oven with the intention of removing moisture.
Got it. Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Okay. You ready?
So I'm going to give this sucker a try.
Do it.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's the most underrated crop we possibly have here in the valley.
So good.
It's awesome. You always bring just an incredible display here, and once again, you've outdone yourself. I say this every time I think, what are you going to do next time? Because you just keep upping that ante on it. So
I kind of can't wait.
Well, thanks, K.C., so much. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Ryan.
And I hope all of you will join me next time for more Valley's Gold.
Valley's Gold is produced through a partnership between the Fresno County Farm Bureau and Valley PBS. Production funding for Valley's Gold is provided by
the Myers Water Bank and Wildlife Project, an educational outreach program working to teach students about water and wildlife issues in California. Field trips are free for all schools, and each trip's curriculum is based on learning about California water resources, valley agriculture, and native wildlife.
Everyone enjoys getting together to laugh, to talk, and mostly to eat. It sounds so simple, but the reality is that it takes a lot of hard work to feed us. The next time you sit down to eat, remember to thank our farmers, Gar Tutelian Incorporated since 1949 at 800-696-6108.
Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. At Brandt, our heroes are the men and women in the field, the folks who work hard to put food on our tables. Join us in celebrating the Valley's real heroes. Brandt. Professional agriculture.